used to take babysitting jobs when I was younger, until one terrible night whose memory still haunts me today. Back then, though, I enjoyed looking after children. I had 2 younger siblings myself and was good with them, so when I received a call from a woman who had heard about me through another parent at school, asking if I was available the following week to look after her only child, I agreed. I drove to the address the woman had given me with a bag of toys I'd brought to bond with my new charge. As I'm about to drive by the front gate, I suddenly feel an intense sense of dread, like something very wrong's about to happen. I look to my right and realize a little girl is standing there, peeking at the house. I lower my window to ask her what she's doing here, but my phone begins to ring. I check who's calling, and when I turn back towards the child, she's nowhere to be seen. I tell myself she must live close by, as this is a family area. And so, without thinking much of it, I park my car and go greet the parents inside the house. They're on their way out, though they take a few minutes to show me around and introduce me to their son, Paul. Paul seems a little shy, but becomes excited once I show him the new toys I brought. We play together for a little until dinner time, and while I'm reheating a pizza, his parents left for us. The doorbell rings. It's not very late, but I'm still a little surprised. I walk over to the front door and check through the peephole before opening up. There's no one there. I check through the downstairs window, but can't make out anything unusual outside. I go back to the kitchen and call Paul over to eat soon after that. He'd gone to his room to get a game of cards he wanted us to play after dinner. "Paul, are you coming?" I call out again after a couple of seconds of silence, but Paul doesn't answer back. I climb up the stairs to his room to fetch him. As I'm reaching the door, I can hear Paul talking on the other side. We're supposed to be alone in the house. Nervous, I open the door to Paul's room and freeze in surprise. He's sitting on the floor, proudly showing his toys to a little girl with long blonde hair I had no idea was in there. Paul looks up and smiles at me, but the girl acts like I'm not even there and continues playing with her toys. "This is my friend from next door," Paul explains with a big, happy grin. "Her parents aren't home, so she asked if she could come over tonight. That's okay, right?" I don't know what to do. On the one hand, Paul's parent hadn't told me one of his friends was supposed to come over. On the other, the little girl seems young, and it doesn't feel right that she'd been left alone at home. I ask her for her parents' number, but she refuses to meet my eyes and pretends like she can't even hear me. There's something wrong with this girl. Paul confidently asks me to check with his mother, who assures me this child has been over to play before and that her name is Ella. So I feel slightly better and, upon Paul's request, bring some pizza over to them so they can eat it together upstairs, alone. Ella is shy, Paul tells me after he's asked me to leave. She doesn't like hanging out with adults. It makes her feel scared. By that stage, I'm thinking there must be an issue with this girl's parent or something for her to flee from home and avoid looking me in the eye. So I let it be and go back down, though I insist Paul leaves his door open. We're nearing 9:30 p.m. when I get a call from Paul's mom, telling me they're going to be home soon. I explain that Paul is still with Ella, but that I'm going to put him to bed now. "That's perfect. Thank you very much," Paul's mom tells me. "And thank you also for playing along. know it's a little strange that Paul still has an imaginary friend at his age, but he gets overly sensitive when we don't act like we can see Ella too. I freeze and ask the mother to repeat herself. What does she mean by acting like they can see her? She insists that earlier when I asked about Ella, she assumed I was talking about Paul's imaginary friend. A little girl he keeps mentioning, but that doesn't exist. I got home that night, questioning my sanity. Was there a little girl there, or did I just imagine her? I've never experienced hallucinations, so what was happening to me? I became obsessed with finding out the truth. So a couple days later, I drove back to Paul's house, looking for some answers. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I didn't expect what I was about to find out. When I get to the house, a child is playing by the front gate, who I instantly recognize as Ella. Not only that, but she's playing with a man I assume's her father. I'm so relieved. I get out to introduce myself, though the father tells me I was supposed to come over last week and asks why I never showed up. I'm confused. I explain I'd met Ella the other night when I had come to babysit Paul. Hearing this, the father sends Ella back inside the house and then urges me to leave, calling me out on making cruel jokes in front of a young child. I'm shocked by this response, and when I ask him what's going on, he tells me Paul was the name of a little boy who used to live in this house years ago, but who died during a break-in gone wrong, along with his parents. I did some research, and Ella's father was right. There was indeed a little boy named Paul who died in this house. I try not to think too much about the fact that he looked exactly like the child I'd met that fateful night. It's too disturbing to consider. I don't know what possessed me to agree when my neighbor asked me to babysit her strange daughter. I mean, she's 8 years old. Shouldn't she be past the age of carrying creepy dolls around? She always has one when I pass her in the street, though I guess maybe it's all in my head. I don't really like children. I find them a little unsettling. So this little girl, Sasha, which I've only seen a couple times, is probably perfectly normal. They live in an old house next to mine, built on freakishly large grounds, which my neighbor inherited from her parents who passed last year. A gruesome affair, actually. Everyone in town talked about it for months. The wife went crazy and stabbed her husband to death 7 times before throwing herself out the window. To reach the property, I pass a tall, creaky fence and stroll down a dark path that feels like it stretches on forever. And I can't shake the feeling that something's not right, yet an unseen force compels me forward. My neighbor seems relieved to see me arrive, as she's supposedly running late. I feel guilty hearing this, thinking maybe I didn't get the time right, so I don't react when she explains that Sasha has been acting a little off lately and is refusing to leave her room. She's in there right now in bed, sleeping, and so I probably won't see or hear her the entire time. I don't mind that. Once my neighbor leaves, I take a quick tour around the house, which besides being quite big with squeaky floors, seems perfectly normal to me. You wouldn't think this used to be the home of someone who stabbed her husband to death. I settle in the living room to read a book. I'm not sure how much time passes, but everything is deathly calm and quiet around me, until suddenly I hear a noise. A slightly muted voice, to be exact. I get up to the bottom of the stairs and realize the sounds are coming from Sasha's room. I'm guessing she must be talking on the phone, so I consider going back to my novel and leaving it at that. But I check the time and realize a little girl her age should probably be asleep, so I go up to her bedroom and knock on the door. "Sasha, time for bed," I tell her. Silence. Sasha doesn't acknowledge me in the least. Fine then. I go back down the stairs. 5 minutes later, I hear her again. I'm slightly annoyed now, so I go back up. Sasha. I knock on the door. Come on, it's late. She's whispering something I can't quite understand. My hand is on the door handle. I hesitate to go in. I think I just heard the word dead, but that can't be right. And then I hear something that chills me to my core. Another voice emerges from behind the door. A deep voice which isn't Sasha's. I burst inside the kids' bedroom, imagining the worst. It's dark, and I can't see anything at first. My heart's pounding in my ears. Then, I notice a pair of eyes watching me from under the bed. Sasha, I ask. It's her, and she's holding the creepiest thing I've ever seen in her arms. An old, monstrous doll that seems more like a deformed demon than an actual toy. What's going on here? Did I imagine that deep, creepy voice? I reach for Sasha. I offer to read her a bedtime story, but she tells me the doll wouldn't like it. I comment that her doll isn't very nice, and if Sasha would like a story, it should let her have one. Sasha says the doll was her grandma's, so she has to be good to it. But I notice she keeps sending that ugly thing strange, cagey looks. Is the doll keeping you awake? I ask Sasha. I'm convinced it must disturb her, holding on to something that belonged to her dead grandma. Sasha says yes. The doll won't leave her alone. It keeps saying things to her. What things? I ask. Mean things, Sasha says. I decide to take Sasha's doll with me tonight so she's able to sleep. At first, Sasha seems hesitant and argues the doll doesn't like me, but she ends up agreeing. And so I go back down with the doll in my arms. Back in the living room, I congratulate myself on not having any children and settle the doll next to me by the couch so it doesn't feel abandoned. I search for my book, all the while hoping Sasha's asleep. Is that her? I seem to hear. What? Oh, no, you're right. You can sit on my lap. Of course. Now, where's my book? I'd enjoyed reading it before I was rudely interrupted. Yes, Sasha is quite ungrateful, isn't she? Separate us, you say? She wouldn't dare. I won't ever let her. I should do something about it. Well, I guess I just don't know what I can. Oh, yes, I see. If you insist. I never really liked children anyway. I've just come back home from a work trip. It was long and intense, but at least I wasn't alone. My home feels so empty. I would have thought I would have my own family by now. I own this rather big house, which I was once proud of purchasing, but it just feels empty now, like there's not enough furniture to fill up all the rooms, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere. What was I thinking? Maybe I should move to an apartment and probably get myself a cat. I drop my luggage in the bedroom and head to the kitchen for a snack. There isn't much food to be found, and I'm looking around in vain when my eye catches a colorful piece of paper that's been left on the counter. I don't recognize this paper and don't remember buying it. But most importantly, I don't remember leaving it there. I take a look at the note, and I'm even more confused. It says, "Get some applesauce for Maya." I have no idea who this Maya is, nor who could have left me this note. My first instinct is to look at my phone, to check if perhaps someone left me a message about leaving this note in my home. I left a set of keys with my neighbor. Maybe he's the one who came in. Unfortunately, my phone's out of battery. I decide to get my charger from my luggage, but as I arrive in my room, I notice another note, written on the same type of paper, has been left on my pillow. My hands are shaking as I grab it to read what it says. Maya arrives today. Who is this Maya? I don't think I should stay here. Someone came into my house. Maybe they're still inside, hiding. Could they be under the bed or in the bathroom? I rush down the stairs, feeling dizzy and breathless, like there's not enough air going into my lungs. I think I'm going to be sick. And it gets worse when I discover the state of my living room. There are plenty of toys lying around, toys I've never seen before nor purchased. Dolls, plushies, a tea set. It looks like a child has been in here playing for hours. On the table, a little plastic plate has been left with what seems to be applesauce inside. Have people been living in my house? Or am I growing insane? What's going on here? I need some water. My head is spinning. I head to the kitchen. On the counter, there's a note written on a piece of paper I don't remember buying. It says, "Get some applesauce for Maya." Who's Maya? What's going on? My phone rings. I pick up mechanically, fighting a wave of nausea. A woman on the other line says she'll be here in 15 minutes to pick up Maya, and is thanking me again for agreeing to babysit at the last minute. I have no idea what she's talking about. I tell her this. I tell her I don't know where I am, and that I feel dizzy, all the while heading for the downstairs bathroom where I think I'm going to be sick. There, on the floor, lays a little girl, pale as death. I think I found Maya. I think she's dead. The woman on the phone is freaking out. I should probably go lie down on the couch. I've been so lonely since I've been back from my work trip. Why did I ever purchase this big old house? There's so much work to be done here. I still haven't had that old heater replaced. I think the selling agent told me I should do it soon. Something about the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning or something. What's this? There's a note on my counter. It says, "Get some applesauce for Maya." I wonder who this Maya is. Then, everything goes black.